Camp Leatherneck lay sprawled under a hazy Helmand sun. Tents and sand-colored buildings casting long shadows over dusty paths that crisscrossed the sprawling base. Staff Sergeant Erin Keller knelt sidder her med 2 tusinde og 10 enhances sniper rifle, methodically checking the bipod, adjusting the stock, and running her fingers over the smooth metal barrel. Each movement was precise, almost ritualistic, a quiet testament to years of training and experience. Around here, the base hummed with activity, the distant whop of rotor blades from a CH-53E echoing faintly against the hard ground, the clatter of maintenance crews working on vehicles, and the low murmur of soldiers coordinating supply runs. Erin worked silently, focused on the rifle, as if nothing else existed. From behind the dust and commotion, Captain Eric Donovan approached. At 34, a West Point graduate and newly assigned 03, he carried himself with the confident swagger of someone who had excelled academically and in controlled environments, but had yet to see the realities of combat. He stopped a few feet away, surveying Erin with a mixture of curiosity and mild condescension. He leaned slightly, tilting his head, and offered to show her a few techniques, the suggestion casual yet carrying an undertone of superiority. He had no idea that she already had 37 confirmed kills logged in meticulous handwriting, each verified by after-action reports and spotter confirmations. Erin did not respond immediately. Her hands paused on the rifle, brushing dust from the scope, her eyes calm, observing his stance and the way he carried authority as if it were automatic. When she finally spoke, her voice was measured and polite, acknowledging his offer without conceding any ground, letting him imagine he was in control. There was a tension in the air, subtle but palpable, a clash between his untested confidence and her quiet, unassailable competence. Dust swirled around their feet, catching the sunlight, and the faint rotor hum underscored the stillness of their standoff. Other soldiers glanced in passing, sensing the unspoken challenge. Yet no one intervened. Erin's demeanor spoke volumes. She needed no validation, her skill evident in every controlled breath, every careful adjustment of the rifle. The scene set the stage for the dynamic that would follow, a story of misjudgment, hidden capability, and the subtle power of a soldier whose true expertise lay far beyond what appearances suggested. The audience could already sense that beneath the calm exterior, Erin Keller's abilities would soon reveal themselves in ways impossible to ignore. Erin Keller grew up on a wide-open ranch in northern Wyoming, where the wind moved freely across the rolling plains and the distant mountains framed the horizon in muted shades of blue and gray. The ranch had a quiet rhythm, punctuated by the lowing of cattle, the occasional clang of metal as gates were latched, and the creak of wooden floors in the old barn where she spent hours alongside her grandfather, Corporal Thomas Keller. He had served as a sniper with the 1st Marine Division during the Korean War, and the calm authority he carried seemed woven into the very air around him. From an early age, Erin was taught not only to handle a rifle, but to understand the essence of patience, precision, and composure under pressure. Thomas Keller introduced her to the M1 Garand, a weapon that felt heavier and more deliberate than she expected, yet he insisted on complete mastery. He showed her how to hold the stock firmly against her shoulder, how to align the iron sights with the target, and how to squeeze the trigger without disturbing her stance. Beyond the mechanics, he emphasized observation and reading the environment, how to notice subtle changes in the wind by watching the grass, how to account for temperature and humidity, and how to control her own breathing so that each heartbeat would not move the crosshairs. He never raised his voice, but his presence conveyed the seriousness of each lesson, and Erin absorbed every detail with quiet determination. The ranch itself became an outdoor classroom. Erin remembered the cold mornings when frost clung to the barbed wire and the smell of hay mingled with the crisp air. She could hear birds taking flight, the distant whistle of a passing train, and the soft patter of hooves on dirt as her grandfather guided her through exercises that required stillness for hours. Each day, the lessons extended beyond shooting. Thomas Keller spoke of discipline, patience, and understanding the consequences of every action. When he passed away, he left her the M1 Garand and a single sheet of paper listing 14 confirmed kills, a record she carried like a talisman throughout basic training and sniper school. Erin entered the Army at 21, carrying the lessons of the ranch with her. She was one of 2 women in her sniper class, and despite the rigorous physical and mental demands, she finished second overall, demonstrating both exceptional skill and quiet confidence. The experiences with her grandfather had shaped her into a soldier who did not seek attention, but who excelled through preparation, observation, and unwavering focus. Every careful adjustment, every measured breath, and every decision in the field could be traced back to those long afternoons on the ranch. The bond between Erin and her grandfather was subtle but profound. It instilled in her a resilience that would guide her through the chaos of deployments, a calm certainty that belied her youth and stature, and an understanding that true skill often went unnoticed by those who judged by appearances. The lessons of Wyoming, the ranch, and her grandfather's mentorship became the foundation for everything she would accomplish. A quiet strength that carried her from the open plains to the deserts of Afghanistan, preparing her to become the sniper who could perform feats that seemed almost impossible to anyone watching from the outside. Staff Sergeant Erin Keller moved through the dusty lanes of Camp Leatherneck with a quiet, measured pace, her eyes scanning the surroundings without drawing attention to herself. The sun beat down on the tan tents and corrugated metal buildings, casting harsh shadows across the dirt paths where soldiers hustled to maintain equipment and prepare for missions. The distant thrum of rotor blades punctuated the air, blending with the murmur of men and women cleaning rifles, loading vehicles, and coordinating supply runs. Rumors had begun circulating about Captain Eric Donovan offering to teach her how to shoot, a statement that traveled quickly through the base, sparking skepticism and whispered curiosity. Many glanced at her as she passed, unsure what to make of the quiet soldier who seemed so unassuming. Erin's steps carried her past groups of soldiers, meticulously cleaning M4 carbines, their hands busy with brushes and oil, their eyes flicking occasionally toward her. Curiosity masked by casual indifference, she approached the mission boards, noting that her name had been overlooked repeatedly for sniper assignments. Other shooters with fewer confirmed engagements were selected instead, and she remained unacknowledged. Despite the repeated slights, she did not react, did not complain, and did not correct anyone. Her composure was unshakable, a reflection of discipline honed through years of training and the lessons learned from her grandfather. The contrast between her quiet authority and the assumptions others made based on her appearance and demeanor was stark. Erin was of average height, unremarkable in build, and her presence rarely left a lasting impression on casual observers. Yet every movement, every adjustment of her gear, and the calm patience she exhibited spoke to a level of skill and confidence invisible to those who judged superficially. Dust swirled around her boots, the wind carrying the faint scent of diesel and metal, the heat radiated off the ground, and the low hum of machinery and distant helicopters created a constant backdrop to the isolation she navigated daily. Within this environment of oversight and misunderstanding, Erin thrived quietly. She moved with purpose, observing everything, noting patterns, and maintaining readiness for any mission that might require her unique abilities. The subtle frustration of being unseen was present, but it was overshadowed by her commitment to discipline and professionalism. She knew her time would come, and until then, she remained invisible by choice, letting her work speak in ways that words never could. The combination of loneliness, subtle tension, and resolute focus painted a portrait of a soldier whose competence could not be measured by appearances. and whose quiet confidence would soon redefine how she was perceived by everyone at Camp Leatherneck. Captain Vincent Shaw sat at the operations table in the small, secured room of the SEAL Task Unit's patrol base, scanning the stack of mission requests that had come in overnight. His eyes paused on a request that called for the best sniper available, specifically noting that the directive excluded political favoritism or personal preferences. The language of the request was clear, only skill mattered, and the stakes were high. He picked up Erin Keller's file, an Army sniper who had been attached to joint operations, and began reviewing the documents in detail. Each page contained meticulously recorded engagements, after-action reports, and statements from spotters that validated 37 confirmed kills. The precision of her work, the range of her engagements, and the professionalism documented in every report created a profile that left him momentarily speechless. Shaw leaned back, considering how a soldier with such an extensive record had gone unnoticed, repeatedly bypassed for assignments where her abilities could have been critical. The realization sparked a mixture of surprise and professional concern. He adjusted his chair, thumbed through the pages again, and confirmed the details. Every entry aligned, every engagement corroborated. There was no doubt Erin Keller was the most capable sniper available in the area. The question that lingered was why she had been overlooked, and the answer was irrelevant compared to the immediate need. Without hesitation, Shaw initiated the reassignment process, communicating via secure channels to the operations officer and notifying the Army liaison that Erin would be integrated into the SEAL Task Unit for an interdiction mission against a high-value target in northern Helmand. He outlined the chain of command clearly. Erin would report directly to him in the field, with Wren as her spotter, while maintaining coordination with the SEAL element. Standard operational protocols were observed, ensuring that the reassignment was seamless, authorized, and fully compliant with Joint Forces procedures. Meanwhile, Erin received the notification with quiet composure. She acknowledged the reassignment, her demeanor calm, professional, and unremarkable to those not familiar with her skill. There was no need for celebration, no outward display of pride. The shift from being invisible to recognized was significant, yet she treated it as a matter of course, trusting in her training and preparation to guide her actions. The room held a tense energy, a mixture of anticipation and relief. As Shaw and his team prepared for the mission, the atmosphere reflected the transition from doubt to recognition, from underestimation to the full acknowledgement of ability. Every decision, every protocol, and every communication reinforced the credibility of the military environment while highlighting Erin's readiness and the unit's reliance on her expertise. Suspense and emerging hope threaded through the moment, creating a turning point that would define the operational effectiveness of the team and set the stage for the critical engagement to come. Staff Sergeant Erin Keller stepped into the cabin of the MH-60 Blackhawk, its interior dimly lit and humming with the low vibration of the engines preparing for flight. The helicopter had been configured for special operations, with reinforced seating, weapons racks, and secure communication equipment lining the walls. Soldiers moved efficiently around her, checking harnesses, inspecting gear, and securing M4 carbines and other weapons in the racks. Erin placed her M2010 enhanced sniper rifle carefully in the designated case, running her hands over the stock and barrel one last time to ensure it was properly positioned for transit. She double-checked her vest and loadout, listened for radio chatter over the intercom, and adjusted her helmet mic, making sure she could hear commands clearly without distraction. The rotors began to spin faster, stirring the dust outside, and the rhythmic thrum filled the cabin, accompanied by the low murmur of the crew, confirming pre-flight checks. Erin observed the procedures with calm focus, noting the crew chief signaling the pilots and the intercom buzzing with last-minute coordination. She could feel the anticipation building, the tension in the air almost tangible, yet her demeanor remained composed. The flight would take them to a small patrol base near Marja in northern Helmand Province, where the SEAL task unit was already positioned for the interdiction mission. Upon landing, Erin exited the helicopter and was met by Captain Vincent Shaw, whose gray hair at the temples and piercing gaze reflected experience and authority. He briefed her on the mission in a secure operations center, laying out the details of the high-value target, a Taliban financier named Haqqani. Moving between safe houses in a rural compound, the coordinates had been validated by ISR and UAV reconnaissance, confirming both the target's location and the timing for engagement. Shaw and Erin reviewed maps spread across the table, discussing range, elevation, and expected wind conditions. She asked questions about the drone coverage, patterns of target movement, and local terrain, demonstrating the meticulous attention to detail that had defined her training. The planning process involved coordinating between Army and SEAL personnel. Following strict chain of command protocols, Erin listened to the dialogue, taking note of each instruction and making mental calculations about the shot. The operators discussed concealment, movement, and fallback options, all of which Erin considered carefully, integrating them into her preparation. Every variable mattered. Wind shifts across the valley, temperature, humidity, and angle of elevation. She adjusted her approach accordingly, calmly reviewing her ballistic calculations and checking her rifle case once more to ensure the M2010 was ready for deployment. Outside, the camp remained busy, with dust rising from vehicles and the hum of generators mixing with the distant rotor sounds of other helicopters arriving and departing. Inside, the operations center was a controlled environment of quiet focus. Maps, laptops, and screens showing live drone feeds, Erin's methodical approach, her calm and precise questions, and her professional demeanor inspired confidence among the SEALs. Even as the stakes of the mission loomed, the sense of anticipation was palpable, the tension building steadily as everyone prepared for the challenging long-range shot that could decide the outcome of the operation. Erin's quiet confidence grounded the team, ensuring that when the moment came, every element would be ready, coordinated, and executed with precision. Before dawn, Staff Sergeant Erin Keller moved with her team through the rough terrain of northern Helmand, the ground uneven and dust clinging to their boots. They advanced in a dispersed formation, each member maintaining visual contact but keeping distance to minimize detection. Radio communications were silent, except for subtle clicks confirming positions and readiness. The low hum of generators and distant rotor blades faded into the background as Erin and her team reached the ridgeline overlooking the target compound. She set down her M2010 enhanced sniper rifle on a sturdy bipod, checking the alignment and making minor adjustments, while Chief Warrant Officer Wren prepared the spotting equipment. Wren leveled a Leupold Mark V HD spotting scope toward the compound and used a Vectronics PLRF-25C laser rangefinder to determine the precise distance. Erin entered environmental data into her Kestrel 5700 Elite ballistic computer, including temperature, humidity, barometric pressure, and the specifications of her ammunition. She reviewed wind corrections and angle of elevation with meticulous care. Confirming that every variable had been accounted for, the team moved with quiet efficiency around her, establishing observation points and concealment. While she remained focused on the rifle and the calculations that would determine the success of the mission, each breath was measured, controlled, and timed with the rhythm of her heartbeat to ensure stability through the shot. The target, a high-value Taliban financier named Haqqani, moved within the compound, partially obscured by buildings and vegetation. Erin and Wren coordinated silently, relaying information through subtle hand signals and minimal radio chatter. The wind shifted slightly across the valley, and Erin adjusted her hold accordingly, centering the crosshairs with precise attention to every detail. The tension in the air was palpable, a focused calm that stretched across the team. When the moment came, Erin squeezed the trigger smoothly, the M2010 firing a .300 Winchester Magnum round at approximately 850 meters per second. The bullet traveled across the open ground in a carefully calculated arc, striking the target with exacting precision. Ren confirmed the impact through the scope, and ISR feeds verified the hit, providing immediate validation. The compound erupted in controlled chaos as the target was neutralized, but Erin remained in position, clearing the rifle and observing the reactions with steady composure. Every movement, every calculation, and every decision demonstrated the extreme skill required for such a long-range engagement. Erin's methodical approach, calm under pressure, and precise execution showcased the professionalism and discipline honed through years of training and combat experience. The atmosphere was intense, cinematic, and focused, emphasizing both the technical expertise involved and the emotional satisfaction of successfully completing a mission that demanded patience, accuracy, and courage. The team exhaled quietly, and the ridgeline seemed to hold a collective acknowledgement of her expertise. As the calculated, deadly efficiency of the shot became a testament to her ability as one of the most capable snipers in the theater. Staff Sergeant Erin Keller returned to the base in the late afternoon, the sun low over Camp Leatherneck, casting long shadows across the dusty ground. She moved steadily through the familiar pathways, her gear secured and rifle case slung over her shoulder, aware that a meeting had been arranged to review the results of the mission. Inside the operations center, Captain Vincent Shaw, Captain Eric Donovan, and the rest of the staff awaited. Papers, maps, and electronic displays spread across the table. Shaw began by presenting Erin's file, flipping through after-action reports, and highlighting ISR still frames and spotter confirmations. Each page and image reinforced the record of 43 confirmed kills, a meticulous accounting that left no room for doubt. Donovan shifted in his seat, a mixture of surprise and discomfort crossing his features as he saw the extensive documentation of her skill. Shaw spoke calmly, walking through each engagement, noting distances, wind conditions, and target identification procedures. Demonstrating Erin's precise methodology and professional execution, there was no need for Erin to interject or explain. Her competence spoke for itself. The staff listened intently, acknowledging the clarity and thoroughness of the reports, their expressions shifting from casual observation to genuine recognition of her abilities. The room was quiet, except for the soft hum of equipment and the occasional rustle of papers. Military decorum was maintained throughout, with officers observing the chain of command, standing when appropriate, and addressing each other with the formalities expected in a joint Army SEAL operation. Erin remained composed, her posture straight, hands resting calmly on her sides, her expression neutral but confident. There was satisfaction in her stillness, a quiet acknowledgement of her own mastery, and the long-awaited validation of her work. As Shaw concluded the briefing, the contrast between Erin's skill and Donovan's earlier underestimation became undeniable. The subtle tension in the room dissolved into a respectful acknowledgement from Donovan and the other officers, a tacit reconciliation with the evidence of her expertise. Erin's quiet confidence anchored the moment, showing that professionalism and excellence required no boast or flourish. Every report, every frame, every corroborating statement was a testament to her skill and patience, demonstrating that true competence often operated silently, unobserved, until circumstance revealed it. By the end of the meeting, the recognition was complete, formal and thorough, yet understated. Erin left the operations center without a word, her record now fully recognized, her reputation secured. The officers returned to their duties with a renewed awareness of her capabilities, and the weight of her achievements settled into the operational fabric of the base. The moment was calm, reflective, and satisfying, a resolution that honored both her skill and her discipline, reinforcing the principle that merit and professionalism ultimately commanded respect in the military hierarchy. Staff Sergeant Erin Keller drove up the familiar dirt road to her family ranch in northern Wyoming, the late afternoon sun casting a warm glow over the rolling plains and distant mountains. The wind swept across the fields, carrying the scent of dry grass and earth, rustling the leaves of the scattered trees around the farmhouse. She parked near the barn and took a moment to breathe deeply, feeling the quiet of the open land settle over her after months of the harsh, dusty environment of Afghanistan. Her Bronze Star medal rested in her bag, a tangible acknowledgement of her role in eliminating a high-value target and preventing a potential attack, yet she held it with humility, understanding that it was part of a larger mission and team effort. Inside the farmhouse, Erin moved through the familiar spaces, noting the creak of the wooden floors and the soft hum of the wind through the windows. She retrieved the faded sheet of paper her grandfather had left, listing 14 confirmed kills, and held it in her hands for a moment, tracing the pencil marks with her thumb. It was a small, quiet connection to the lessons he had imparted years ago on the ranch. The patience, discipline, and precision that had guided her through army training and combat deployments. She carefully placed the paper into a wooden box alongside the M1 Garand he had entrusted to her, a symbolic act of continuing his legacy while acknowledging her own journey and accomplishments. Erin walked outside to the edge of the pasture, listening to the distant sound of cattle, the faint whistle of the wind, and the occasional call of a bird. The ranch felt alive yet tranquil, a place where the chaos of deployment could not reach. She stood for a long moment, reflecting on the transformation from a soldier who had been overlooked and underestimated to one who had earned respect through skill, composure, and dedication. There was a profound sense of closure, a feeling that the challenges faced and the missions accomplished had shaped her into the professional and person she had become. As the sun dipped lower, painting the horizon in shades of gold and orange, Erin felt a quiet peace. Her experiences, the recognition she had received, and the connection to her grandfather converged into a steady, warm satisfaction. She did not need to boast or announce her achievements. The work, the discipline, and the commitment spoke for themselves. In the stillness of the ranch, surrounded by the familiar sights and sounds of home, Erin embraced a sense of fulfillment, gratitude, and calm. The journey from invisible sniper to respected professional had reached its quiet, résonnant conclusion, leaving her with both personal pride and the gentle reassurance that her grandfather's lessons had carried her through every step of the way.